Good evening, fight fans. Welcome to another great episode of Headkicks and Haymakers. I'm your boy Bodkins, and of course, with me as always, Mr. Bobby Blunt. Our boy will be joining us here shortly. But man, we have a lot to get into tonight. Plus, we'll look at the huge boxing card. Kicks off Saturday afternoon, I believe, right, Bobby? And then you got UFC Des Moines. And then we are, I think, a week away from the Paul Hughes fight in PFL. So, we are crammed up here, some great weeks ahead of us in the MMA. And plus, we'll look at, the results of UFC Kansas City. What a night it was. I was able to endure the fights live. I told you some stories that, I was able to run into a couple of the fighters afterwards. Just a quick, how you doing, keep it moving type of thing. What a night. But Bobby, before we kind of even get into that, we had some fights kind of announced here. How about Joaquin Buckley versus Kamaru Usman headline in Atlanta? And then we finally get the reported, we've kind of had it circled, just not official, the Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier, the Uno Mas, fight down in New Orleans. So your thoughts on just kind of those two, and in any other fight news that, I might be missing off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, I had a feeling we were getting both for kind of a while. I mean, it definitely made sense for Buckley. Absolutely. It's kind of dope that, they're getting this, he's getting this like legend tour.
Yeah.
I bet a lot of other people, wish they could get this type of matchmaking, and going to be an interesting one for Usman coming back. So that should be a good, fight night in Atlanta. And they announced Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway. Max is going to try to see if he can get one win back. Cool how they're doing the send off. I love how it's in, DP's hometown and everything. Love everything about the matchup. Uh, I could have really done without the BMF title, but I'll just act like it doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. At least they, did right by him, got him a good fight, and it's still a fight that will definitely keep him on his toes. He said legends only, so Max definitely qualifies, and I'm kind of interested to see what other fights they might be putting on that one. Like, is it just going to be the main top heavy main event, or are they actually going to try to build that thing out? Get some other local talent on there, but. And that's about it. Actually, in the announcement, when Dana did it on IG Live or whatever, he like looked into, the camera and was like, oh, and that's it. Pretty much almost trolling at this point that he hasn't announced Islam versus Ilya.
Yeah.
So,
And the tea leaves I read on Saturday, I saw Dana's presser after the fights real quick. And I thought that the way he kind of chimed in was that fight's going to get announced. The way he kind of smiled and giggled, so hopefully soon.
that's what I'm telling myself. My fear is that smile is him being like, yeah, you guys are getting Islam versus Justin.
And
But
Aspinall versus Cyril Gahn, right?
yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Well, especially because they made Justin was talking about wanting to fight Dustin, and it seemed like the UFC had other plans, and they did this matchup. So, wishful thinking. I'm gonna be, saying it, but I'm assuming we're gonna be getting that announcement soon because I'm guessing it's International Fight Week, but. I'm done speculating. I'm just waiting for the announcement because at this point, it's just getting out of hand.
yeah, we don't know shit about fuck. That's what, you know what I mean? Like, he's the only person that kind of knows. Wait, what's good, buddy? We're just kind of talking
Hey,
about
gang.
some of the fight news that broke out before Saturday's fights. We were talking about we kind of knew it, but it's now official, the Max Holloway Dustin Poirier fight, along with in New
The
Orleans.
brawl for it all, right?
Yeah. So here's what I'll say, Bobby, kind of to what you were saying, the BMF title. I think that's kind of the casual thing, and to me, that signifies, hey, we're going to have a pay-per-view, and and that's going to be the main event, and we got to have it for a title. So here, luckily, we can do Max Holloway for the BMF title. I think that's, you know what I mean? Because I don't think you're going to have, if you weren't going to have Dustin be on the main event, be the main event. You know what I mean? I feel like people who are there, are they going to stick around for the main event? You know what I mean? Once he's done, if he was on the co-main. So having him fight on that main event, in that main event, I think makes perfect sense. And you know what I mean? I think that's the reason we're seeing the BMF. And he said legends only. And like you said, there may not be a better legend, you know what I mean? Than Max Holloway, like Circle, especially in his era, a guy who's still fighting, still active at his weight class. He kind of said he wanted Justin or Ilya or Max. Seems like we're not getting. He said him and Justin, but then he kind of said, like Justin kind of said it, like somebody's going to go to the hospital in that fight. If we fight 100 times, both of us 100 times is going to go to the hospital. So. I'm okay with, I guess that's, the trilogy's going to end 1-1, and we'll see. As far as the Usman, I think we kind of had circled that maybe a little, but it's now official. And like Usman has not fought at welterweight. The last time he fought was March 18th, 2023. So it's been 2 years, 2+ years since we've seen Kamaru Usman at welterweight. What's your thoughts on the kind of those fights being announced?
The biggest deal for me right now is not even the idea that we're going to get to see Usman. You know what I mean? I think, remember last week I gave, the new Mansa, quote unquote, my number 10 pound for pound because of his production last year. And I know it seemed a little outrageous, but this type of fight, although it's against a fighter who's been, dormant for 2 years, this is where you really mark your territory right here. Where are you going to stand in the logs of history? Because this could be a catapult for Usman to return and back into, a dominant stage, or this could be completely, flipped around and basically have our guy Joaquin, move right up where he needs to be, or where I think he could belong, especially in 2025. But on the back end, Dustin and the idea of him putting the gloves down in New Orleans at home, I think that's pretty dope. In real life,
they don't do this thing for they don't do this for anybody.
Nobody, that's what I was going to say. They don't do that.
They let him announce the fight. They don't do that for
anybody. Yeah. They let him basically say that it was going to happen.
He did do it on Pat McAfee, which they do have a good relationship with Pat. So that's what I mean. I think that's kind of a part of it. But yeah, they let him announce the fight. They let him have it in his hometown, and he's fighting a guy that's a legend too. You know what I mean? Like, look at Anthony Smith this past Saturday, fought an up-and-comer and got smoked in the first round. Now, they did kind of let him get close to his hometown. Like, he's from Nebraska, and I couldn't tell you, I don't know if the UFC's ever been in Nebraska. So they're like, either Kansas City or Des Moines is probably the closest. So Kansas City it was. You know what I mean? So, for them to do this for Dustin Poirier is, unheard of. They don't do this, retirement stuff like this for everybody, right? They kind of do the traditional, wrestling, WWE type style where you put the other younger guy over, you know what I mean? Shoot, they're still doing it to Jose Aldo. They're still giving Jose Aldo young killers trying to kill off his career. And they're letting Dustin Poirier have everything he's wanted. It shows the respect they have for Dustin Poirier.
Yeah, man, and in real life, I know I was coming in while y'all were kind of throwing around the idea that BMF belt. We got to find a way. I think this is one of those ideas. We just got to find a way to put a little bit of respect on it, because if we're gonna do Max and Dustin for the BMF title, maybe so that just adds a little bit of validity. We know we're gonna get a fight in which it's not gonna be a lot of that back stuff. We're not riding backs on this one, brothers. We're gonna be watching two guys on two legs go at it, swing. You know what I mean? A lot of talk has been going around the internet about 100 guys versus one gorilla. Two of those guys could be Max Holloway and Dustin Poirier, guarantee you. And I'm with it. If they were in on the gorilla fight, I'm down. Then the other two, when one of the two, definitely we're gonna have to stick new Mansa out there. We're gonna stick Joaquin Buckley out there, and this is where in the superstition of how the internet works, like we're gonna pretty much see two big fighters go out on not necessarily their shield, because I doubt it's the end for Max. I seriously doubt it to be the last fight for Max, but we get to see them go out in the style they want to, basically.
So Rob's here saying nobody who's been on for a year and 6 months or more who fought this year has lost. So I think Kamaru will too. So are you saying Kamaru's going to win? Nobody who's been off for a year and 6 months or more who fought this year has lost. So the only person I can think of is John Jones, right? That's the only person that wasn't this year.
Jones, I guess last year, right?
So maybe Rob is picking. Maybe he likes Kamaru. I don't know. I kind of like
Rob. Do you like Joaquin Buckley or do you like Kamaru in the long run? Because I will jump into the J Spec chat and have this conversation one of these weekends.
The overwhelming amount of retirement fights are losses. That's true. Okay. So he's saying has one. So he's picking Kamaru. Or he's picking Joaquin. Okay, Rob, appreciate it. Thanks for
yeah, no, that's how I took it when I read it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The overwhelming amount of retirement fights are losses. Yeah, that's true. Like most of the time they're losses. I mean, I'm trying to think of like Robbie Lawler is about the only guy who was going to retire going into the fight and won, and they wrote out the video package and everything else. So Max will keep it that way, and the BMF belt give it to the. Hey, appreciate it. Yeah.
I'd be interested to see in that retirement fight if in the other scenario the other guy was up 2-0 on the guy he's fighting. Yeah. So I don't to me this isn't the like traditional retirement fight, because Dustin is getting out on his own time ahead of it before it becomes watching like Tony Ferguson or something.
Yeah,
like
he's not on a 3-fight losing streak. He's not getting, he's even Robbie Lawler, even though he won his last fight, his previous fights before that were not that great. I mean, watching him and Nick Diaz a couple of, I think he fought Nick Diaz and there was another fight in between there, I think maybe or after that or right before that he had lost. And the Nick Diaz fight just looked like two drunk uncles fighting at the family barbecue. So, yeah. I mean, Rob's right here. Chuck versus Tito. If he up 2-0 off his retirement fight, I mean that's speaking of two drunk uncles. Yeah, Lawler versus
Barberina. Yeah, right.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. That was a fight. Barberina had beat. So, like watching, Robbie got out and just beat the right guy and was able to go out. Like those don't happen very often. But you're right, Bobby, as far as like he's kind of going out on his own. He lost his last fight, was the title fight. And he knows like at least he's being on. One thing fighters aren't with themselves is pride, right? Like pride fucks with them. And sometimes you got to be like Marcellus Wallace says in Pulp Fiction, fuck pride. And I feel like Dustin's doing that. Like he knows he could probably fight, the 7, 8, 9, 10 guys and beat them, but he knows he's not any closer to getting the title shot. He has his money, he has his health. He's going to check out, and I think respect to him for that.
Yeah, man. Definitely going to put more respect on his name to see as we see what exactly comes out of that match when we see him with against a guy like Max. It's one of those things for me where even if he dropped it today, right now, if we look at the Makhachev fight, that was one of Islam's most competitive matches we've ever seen. He could have went out that day and said, I retired. I give him respect for that. So to have him put one more on, and win or lose, he's still going to be Dustin Poirier. I can't imagine how dope that package is going to be. I meant to ask you, bro, because I know you probably were talking about it at the beginning of the show. When they showed the Anthony Smith package in Kansas City, like, what was the crowd like? Was everybody like cheering or were they booing? Like, how was it, bro?
Yeah.
I was flipping off somebody. I was like, oh shit, Watkins got close to the ring. Oh dang.
We'll get to Kansas City here in just a minute. I would just real quick on the Max and DP, it being the trilogy. I get first one was way back in what 20, like a long time ago. The first fight at featherweight.
Yeah.
That was Max.
I think it was no back tattoo Max. That's how long ago it was.
Yeah, and then the second fight was kind of like a short notice. Max didn't he wasn't properly at 155, so there's that too for that interim title. So I think this is like the first one where I guess the first one was fair, but this one I feel like is where they need to be.
Well, I'm also intrigued by it because it's the first time Max is coming off stoppage, like being
Right,
actually finished
knocked
in a
out.
fight.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
for this, that's a hell of a fight to, jump back in there. So I mean, I'm
yeah.
sure it'll be fireworks.
Yeah, you're looking like two of the best boxers in the UFC. So it's going to be fireworks. It'll be a good one. Speaking of good one, it was a good one Saturday night. By Mr. Ian Garry. Went to answer your question. Yeah, the crowd was pretty was on point with the Anthony Smith stuff. And the package. He loses, but man, the fights were incredible.
Yeah, that was.
I got there. It's about 2 fights in. I was just telling Bobby, the guys I was with, non-UFC fans, this is their first. They don't really know much about the MMA world, so it was enjoy like watching them enjoy it, right? And like what I mean. I felt like they're not kids; they're my age, but like I felt like a proud dad.
Yeah. Tanner sent me a pic. I was like, check the 10-man out. He looked excited as shit. Look at that.
So shout out to the guys, the sports buffoons. But was able to hang out with them, and they enjoyed the fights. They're like, this was incredible. So I was like, yeah, now you guys see why I'm into it, or like why I wanted to be like, because I was like, boys, I said we got to get to the prelims. The doors open at 5. Like I'm ready.
Right. Yeah, let's get to it.
All 13 fights from the go. But I think we got there about 2 fights in, and it was incredible. A lot of finishes. The Anthony Smith package was nice. That they wrote out a nice package for him, and but nonetheless, the night was owned by Mr. Ian Garry. I had a 3-1 live in time. Bobby, what about you? People are saying Prates should have finished him. I was screaming, please don't finish him, because I'm not going to lie. I had money on Ian Garry decision, and I felt pretty damn good about it until the 5th round there.
4-1 for me, and
Did I say 3-1? I meant 4-1.
Yeah. At first when you said 3-1, I thought you meant maybe you had it 3-1 going into the 5th.
No.
But yeah, I absolutely, great distance control by Garry. Prates looked very I don't want to say slow, but he came out like with no offense in the beginning. And like granted, it's his first ever 5-round fight.
Tentative.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, it's his first 5-round fight. Maybe he's just like trying to conserve energy and stuff, and never really picked up the pace with that. The one thing he did seem to kind of have honed in was the grappling. I think that was a big part of his Jeff Neal camp because he figured that's what he was going to do, so he was able to implement that in the fight. But really, that was it. I mean, other than that, he was just too slow, and Garry was just dancing on him. It was, he got him, knocked him down at the end of the first there, and Carlos was smiling like the whole time. Actually, it reminded me a lot of like John Silva with like the friendliness and stuff. Like I'm not used to Carlos like being that docile and stuff. Normally he's the one like moving forward with the pressure and striking early, and that's why the fights normally don't get out of the first. But you could clearly see the competition, like as far as going from Jeff Neal, who he didn't even fight, to Ian Garry. And Ian Garry's fight IQ pretty much won the fight in the 5th round. Prates was able to reverse the scramble to get on top, and that's kind of where he did his most damage with some of those hammer fists. Um, it looked like for a second he might have got him out of there, but once again, Ian's fight IQ just stalled him and ended up winning a decision. I had it easily 4-1, and credit to Ian Garry for once again making it look very easy against these guys that have just done nothing but win confidently.
Yeah, Whit, your thoughts on the main event? I thought Ian Garry, like, say what you. Ian Garry gets so much hate, and I don't really know why. I mean, I think I kind of know why,
I know.
but in the octagon, the dude is phenomenal. He is so smart, and he fought a very smart fight against an absolute killer on short notice.
Yeah, man. Straight up and down, you guys pretty much capped it up, man. Like 4-1. You might have been able to possibly give Prates some of like maybe that third round, but the somewhere in there, it's all right. Somewhere in there, we gotta give Ian Machado Garry respect, man. To completely like just nullify Prates' best work by doing what he did, keeping him at distance. Yes, baby. Yes, I know. We're talking about the fight we watched. Yeah, and to keep him at distance, using his length. The funny thing is, Prates got the reach advantage. I think if I was not correct, if I'm mistaken, then let me know. But somehow, some way, it's those legs, those kicks, and it was happening on a regular. Prates really didn't have too much of an answer all the way through, like maybe to the third round, and then in the middle of that, we saw Ian Garry switch it up. Look, I'm not going to stay in front of you. I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to keep switching the target area, and somewhere in there, I really feel like. Oh, the world needs the book versus cup. Something there, I really feel like, we really had to switch it up about how we feel, where Ian Garry is and where Prates is. There's levels to MMA, and they're obvious that there are levels, but somehow, some way, we got a chance to see it. Not to say Prates isn't good, not to say that the Fight Nerds camp is going down, but this was one of the first clear examples of us being able to say there's a big difference between level 1 and level 2. You know what I mean? And Ian Garry is definitely on level 2. Right now, my kids are on level 2. Don't know where the hell they came from, but they somehow want to be in the room. Give me 2 seconds, guys. I'll be right back.
You good, brother. You good handling your business. Yeah, real quick, and we're getting some comments in. A shout out. Thanks for everybody tuning in. The world needs Buck versus Cuck. Bobby, is that what's next? I know we're getting, Buckley versus Usman, but I think if Usman, he's going to have to beat Usman, and then maybe we can get Buck versus Cuck. If not, that's going to be a fight that's a little bit further down the road.
Yeah, I mean, he wants to be the backup for the Bilal Muhammad JDM fight, which, to be honest, I'd almost be surprised if he gets medically cleared to do that.
That's in 2
granted,
weeks. It'd be insane. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, he's gonna pay top dollar for recovery, and technically, all he needs to do is do the weight cut. I think the whole way he's doing that is to kind of, he's always going to be known as the guy taking the call. He's going to be in good graces with Dana, and this could be a way for him to leapfrog for a title shot. There are easily 3 people at the top of the division I want to see him fight because, all due respect to Carlos Prates, but, he was barely ranked. He was like, what, 13 or
Yeah,
something?
12 or 13, yeah.
And like, that is a serious short notice win. But that division, like, we already know, like, how good that division is. So, like, you can almost match him up with any of those guys, and I'd have 0 complaints.
Yeah, I agree with Brandon, and that's it's Brady versus Garry for the number 1 title or number 1 contender spot. Like you do that, and that's good. Back to the Ian Garry thing, real quick. I think he negotiated. I believe, and I don't know. This is just my own theory. I think he negotiated that to be the backup fighter in this contract negotiation of taking this fight. I think when they called him, he said, "You didn't call me for the title." Right? He was mad that they didn't call him for the title. Well, I think so. I think he said, "I want to be the backup fighter, and I'll take this short notice fight and save this Kansas City card." I think that's what happened.
You're 100% right. He actually confirmed that exact thing on a Monday. So that is
Oh, he did.
exactly
Okay,
what
I
he
didn't know
did.
he negotiated. I didn't know he
Yeah.
came out and negotiated that. I had that feeling
Yeah.
the first time I heard him say that, and I was like, oh, I bet he negotiated that. And then for them, because Dana immediately come out and said, yeah, he's the guy. So that makes me think that's negotiated. They already had that negotiated. Now, if he lost, it's probably a little different story. But the fact that he won, he said if he wins, that so I believe
Also,
that.
just shows you how confident he is that
Yeah,
he was going to win that fight.
yeah,
Like, and I think this also puts to bed, like, there are levels to this when it comes to Shuto Box and the fighting nerds. They out coached the shit out of them if you compare the corner work in between rounds. So credit to Shuto Box, the OG Brazilian camp.
yeah. And Williams right here, man. Like, gotta respect for betting on yourself. Like you can shit on Ian for whatever he says or his lifestyle, being a cock, whatever the fuck whatever you want to say. But damn, you got to respect this guy in the octagon because he has now fought two of the best killers in the UFC on short notice. Took Shavkat to the brink, beat Carlos Prates 4-1, and pretty much outclassed him through 4 rounds, and got kind of caught in the survived the fifth because of his own smarts, like you said, and and won. So like you can say whatever the hell you want about him, but damn it, the kid can fucking fight.
Absolutely. And there's also a lot of fighters in the UFC, and Ian would probably be at the top of this list, that are very good at not taking much damage and winning like that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people also don't like that. Like they want to just, see a finish and stuff. And, when Carlos just like looked lost in the first couple of rounds when he
The
was
first few rounds,
dealing
he
with
just
it.
looked like he wasn't throwing. Like the guys I was even with, I just said they weren't MMA fans. Like, what the fuck is he doing, Nick? He's not. At the first round, I was like, well, he's probably getting reading some reads. It's the first round, 5-round fight, trying to feel the situation out. This is kind of his. He's been a main eventer, but like he's never gone the distance, right? I'm like, this is kind of his, style, maybe taking some reads, but then second round, halfway through the third, boys, he's just not throwing. He's just being tentative. He is not doing enough to win this round. And, I had the ticket that said Ian Garry by decision at the end of the third. I said, holy shit, this is going to hit because, like, I'm not saying that Prates could knock him out. I just felt at that point in time, and I know Ian Garry's smart enough. He wasn't going to get caught. Like, Ian's smart enough not to put himself in any sort of damage, like serious situation. I felt like, so I felt pretty good that was going to cash, and it cashed. So I thought that was perfect. But I hate all the hate that Ian Garry gets, but you got to respect him. So. Yeah, I mean, Rob says that here's best. You know what I mean? What fighters do outside of fighting means absolutely nothing to people. To him, people not doing anything are mad at anyone doing anything. Amen to that.
Are we
Amen to
talking
that,
about
bro.
smoking cigarettes? That was who's
No, we're talking about just why Ian Garry gets
And then that cold, when they read the decision and he put out the smoke, that shit was so cold. Like it was like after having that performance, like it's perfect.
This was one of those things, right? So I'm gonna like, and I probably missed half. Y'all might have probably already said this because I missed it. But the whole thing was, I felt like Process was, if you because I watched it twice, right? It looks like somewhere in his mind they were programming Process as this, hey, look, Ian Garry, Ian Garry went to Thailand. He's going to come out with that Muay Thai K1 shit. Are you ready for it? And it looked very stylistically as if he was uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Because I saw a lot of that posturing, a lot of that knee raising. He was ready for the kick. No kick happened. He was ready to to parry if it was happening. A lot of that K1 stuff that I've watched in the past, that's how those fights start, where they're trying to do a lot of ranging, a lot of range checking, Let's see if I can check his kick up. Is he going? It looked very much like a kickboxing match for at least 2.5, like 2 rounds or round and a half. And I feel like the preparation for Prates involved a lot of that. Hey, Ian Garry is over there taking it serious. He just was in Thailand. He's going to come out there and he's going to want to take you down. He's going to want to get you into Muay Thai clinch. He's want to get you against the fence. And I think that not happening immediately really threw him off, because we all know Ian Garry has more than one way of winning fight. And Botkins, you're completely right. When I think his corner alerted him to probably like a realistic, hey man, you're up 2.5 rounds. We see it. After that, switch goes off. All right, I'm keeping him at range. You know, although the arms, the reach difference was in Protest's favor, Ian Garry's still a big ass, a big dude. You know what I mean? And
he looks so much bigger than him in the cage.
He looks, when they were doing the call outs, he looks so much bigger than Carlos Prates, dog. And I was, I'm surprised at his stature and him being able to keep that weight off. You know what I mean? To be such a big guy. But I think that goes, that shows you his preparation, how serious he takes it. And with all of that happening, I think in the end, somewhere in there, Carlos Prates probably, got in there and was like, dang, it looked bigger than I thought. You know what I mean? But it worked in Ian Garry's favor. I think this is one of those stopgap fights. Like, hey, look, y'all thought he was good. Let me show you who's really good. Me, Ian Garry. Yes, you want to talk about my private life, but talk about this in the ring. Talk about this performance. And this is what I think this is what he has to do. A lot of fighters, not just in MMA, but even in boxing, and which is another sport we're going to get into later. When they got that personal stuff going on, and that's what we're talking about, you got to negate all of that with a performance very similar to this. Very, very much under control, very much unanimous decision. Yeah, now, what did you say about my wife? Okay, screw all of that. Talk about this fight that just happened. So big shouts out to him on that record.
I think ever since the Colby Covington, like he was kind of going to Colby's level, but then that fight never happened. He's kind of just said fuck it. Like, people gonna say what they're gonna say. I just got to go out there and become a world champion, and he's proven that. And he's about one fight away, if not maybe. You know what I mean? Maybe stuff crazy happens and he's in the title fight. It'll be interesting what happens there with Ian and what's kind of next for him. I love the Sean Brady fight. Personally, I think that's the fight to make. If a number one contender, because they've been kind of chirping, Brady's been chirping, and that fight would be so good. As far and kudos real quick. My last thing on Ian too is like he's taken 2 short notice fights, and for the longest time, especially in this welterweight division, we had so many guys who would not take short notice fights, and we're just kind of squatting on their spot, And now we're finally getting guys who are raising their hand, or at least 1 or 2 guys raising their hand, taking some fights here. I mean, Jesus, we just said Kamaru Usman's hasn't fought at welterweight in 2 years. You know what I mean? So he hasn't picked up the phone for nobody. And finally has a fight. So, but far as Carlos Prates, Wonder Boy Thompson's kind of called him out. I'm perfectly fine with that. Do you like that, or do you run back the Jeff Neal fight that was initially scheduled?
I think what the Wonder Boy aspect is always available. What would make me more excited, I guess, is the Jeff Neal fight, because I think we all were clamoring for what would stylistically be a good match for Ian Garry. You know what I'm saying? But when you go and look at what happened, does that negate the idea now? Did he do that well to say that that's no longer a good match, for a good match to make? Did he step up that far in this? I'm not quite sure that he raised the bar so far. But Prates versus Wonder Boy, as I see Cross down here mentioning, it's somewhere in the books. Like, mess around and Wonder Boy is very similar to part of what Ian Garry has. Mess around and Prates lose 2 in a row, which the fighting nerds are not necessarily have not done, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't
This
seen them
is their
play more
first
than
loss.
one.
That's like that core group. This is their first loss. Was
Yeah, that's what
No, no, no.
I haven't
Second
seen them lose.
loss.
Second loss because the girl lost, but I haven't seen them lose
I
two
meant
in a
like
row.
the core group, the gentlemen, I guess you could say.
Yeah, because Gene Silver beat the
Oh,
crap out of Buddy
give
last.
me a break with this UFC PR bullshit. Like two
I mean,
losses
I'm trying to
on
get in
the
the
camp's
pocket. Man,
record.
I'm trying to get in the pockets. You know what I mean? I'll promote whatever the fuck they want to promote, baby.
Hey, do we even know if that's the case? Is Carlos still a fighting nerd? Because they
Right?
might X him out real quick and just
Right,
plaster Silva and Rufy on the graphic with Kyle.
Yeah, yeah. All right, this guy Prates, he's going to be sitting in the corner smoking a cigarette while the rest of them are
Yeah.
getting the promotion.
right.
What about you, Bobby? Who do you think's next for Mr. Carlos Prates?
I mean, my answer would be if do you want him to win or not? I'd say run back to Jeff Neal, or if you want to take the risk, you could do Wonder Boy. Granted, Wonder Boy is a lot older.
He's come
However,
off two losses in a row too, right? Shavkat and was it Ian that finished him? Two people just finished.
Buckley,
Oh,
but
Buckley, that's right.
he was up in that fight before he got finished, and so Uh, I'd have no problem with that, but kind of what I saw in the Ian fight, I think Wonder Boy might have quite a bit of success, but it also only takes one, so I could totally, see it going. And as Rob says, he thinks the Wonder Boy is Uncle Washed.
Right.
Um, but
What the
I,
secrets
I
of your purpose?
I'd say one of those. It's the UFC found out exactly where he is at, so that's why I'd say kind of bring him back up and you redo the Neil fight almost, and kind of just get him back on that plan because that's no picnic for him either. But he did do pretty good in the grappling exchanges, so I'd be willing to see that again. But I'd also take Wonder Boy. Wouldn't be mad at either of those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
Wonder Boy on
either
that one.
one's the right step, right? A veteran who's kind of been around the game, like you know what I mean, to you can kind of build your name off of him, and now we know, like you said, we found a lot about him. He's just not quite ready for that top contendership. On Saturday, and kudos to him. I mean, I'm giving Wonder Boy Ian Garry a lot of credit, but this is kind of a short camp from Carlos Prates too. I know he was in camp preparing to fight Jeff Neal, and then that fight fell through. So I mean, but still different opponent. So let's move to this Saturday night. They're live and none other than Des Moines, Iowa, baby.
Des Moines.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm so slow. I was reading. I was like, where the hell is Des Moines at? Where the
Yeah, no, when you read you think you're overseas for sure.
Yeah, I got a lot of family in Iowa. I got a couple cousins and aunts and uncles that actually live in Des Moines. I was trying to tell my stepdad, he watches a lot of MMA, not like huge MMA fan, but he loves going to fights. And I was telling him he should go, but my sister's graduating college. I'm like, she can do that anytime. They go to the fights. Who cares? Promise that's going to be way better. But it is none other headline by Corey saying this card. I like this. This card offers a lot. Like I almost wish I was going to go to this card, but my son has a soccer Saturday tournament because this card. I mean, Daniel Rodriguez, Santiago Pazaminios on this card. But the two fights at the top are the marquee to me. We'll look at Bo Nickel, who was taking on his toughest challenge in RDR. RDR at plus 260. That's the juice is worth the squeeze here, Bobby.
Or this might be the cheapest you'll ever be able to bet Bo Nickel again. I kind of can see it both ways. I know we kind of remember the sparring match with Paul Craig, and that's really soured our feelings on Bo Nickel. And then, DeRitter, I actually picked against him and Kevin Holland because I wasn't impressed with the Mearshar fight, and he looked a lot better. So, undoubtedly, this is Bo Nickel's toughest competition. And I mean, to me, the only question is he going to grapple? Is he? I would not think he'd be worried about the jiu-jitsu, but I don't know. At the same time, I was kind of shocked he did not decide to use any wrestling with Paul Craig last time. But some of the trips and stuff I saw in the Mearshart fight when he was fighting DeRitter, I think if Bo is able to do that to him, he won't be able to get back up. And I know this is a champion that he's fighting from, a former organization. I mean, I guess they still do MMA, but, you don't see too much anymore. But, he's a former one champion, and he is Nichols' hardest test. I do kind of get the line though, like the correction of it, because normally Bo Nichols like minus 1500 or something like
Yeah.
that. So this is kind of definitely Vegas adjusting to seeing that kickboxing performance. Bo leaded to wanting to strike. I hope he's just trolling because I mean I get wanting to use as much time in the octagon to get better, but at the same time, you might just want to push for the finish as quick as you can there.
Right there.
And
Cross has got a good point. Paul Craig was too scared to shoot a takedown. RDR was scared too. Won't be scared. He shot it on GM3. So that's a good point, Cross. It's right on the money there. That's I mean, neither one of those guys, Paul Craig or Bo, shot on each other. Paul, he probably would have just laid on. He wanted to just lay on his back anyway. But what's your thoughts here on? I mean, not many guys who have 10 fights in the octagon are taking on RDR. And here, Bo Nickel at 7-0. I think he's like 10-0 maybe as a professional. Is taking on one of the toughest challenges of his career.
Speaking of tough, I just want to give a big shout out to something on the prelims. We got Ryan Loader out here on the bottom of the prelims. Tough 32 winner. Big shout out to him because, of course, he represents a lot of the kids out there who were born with learning disabilities. I thought that was like one of the biggest storylines ever in Tough history, where he pretty much cried to say, like, it was hard for me to go to school, but wrestling is what got me through. So I appreciate him for being who he is on the card. Then I'm looking down, old man Jeremy Stevens down there starting the main card off. I like that.
I was say, is he on the main card or is he on the prelims?
They starting the main card off with Jeremy Stevens and Mason Jones. That's what it says.
Yeah, they put him on a one-fight deal.
Yeah. See, ESPN, like on the way they have it, like on the app, if you like, he's like the sixth fight. So like, but I think you're right. What I did see it on like the poster wise, he was like 30. Yeah, Jeremy Stevens coming back, fighting in his hometown, Des Moines.
Yeah, shout out to that. What else so as we crawl and creep up, gotta give a big shout out to the Ponzinibbio. We do want to see that. But what I want to know, speaking of which, since we're talking about that co-main, right? That co-main, we really want to know: are we gonna get the full Bo Nickel? You know what I'm saying? Just like we used to say about the full Monty. Are we really gonna get him at his best, possibly unafraid of what may happen if he gets caught in a compromising position because of his of RDR's jiu-jitsu prowess? I don't want to see Bo Nickel go out there and try to get himself in a situation where it's a strike off, because I don't think that's where his strongest trait lies. I do think he has the strength to put a guy down, but I think that's RDR's lane right there. When I think about it, though, just like you said, Vikings, when you look at the record, that 7-0 to a degree doesn't mean much until we get to a competition level like RDR, who we all know has been, in and around the UFC, fought some really, really good fights in terms of just taking out Kevin Holland and the Mearshart fight, because I thought that at least the Mearshart fight was going to be a difference maker for him. But we've seen the likes of RDR put some guys in some really compromising positions. Is Bo Nickel going to be too worried about getting into a compromising position where he leaves a limb out, leaves an arm, gets put in an arm bar, and this match ends in the second round? You know what I mean? But I really want to give Bo Nickel a fair shot, because he came into the UFC smoking hot with his college prowess, wrestling champion. We know about all of that, but in the UFC, somewhere along the way, it's been evolved. You got to have a little bit of this jujitsu in your game, or be prepared to face someone like RDR who will put your arm behind your head and make you call uncle. So I'm excited to see it though. As far as it's gone to me.
Who you guys like, Bobby? Who you like?
I don't know. I keep going back and forth on it. I mean, I think the reason I'm slightly leaning Bo is I do think, I know RDR is taller, but there is quite a significant size difference, in my opinion. I mean, Bo seemed to kind of bulk up a little bit for this one. And I just think he was going to be able to, overpower him with the wrestling. But at the same time, like the Ritter is very proven, and he is not going to panic if he gets taken down. And I think he is definitely the better striker currently than Bo. So I don't know. Maybe the Ritter's money line might be the actual right call here. I'm keep going back and forth. Don't know which way to lean here.
Well, we make picks, Bobby. So I need you to make a pick here.
We gotta know.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'll just, I'll give Bo one more chance here. But if you are gambling on this, enjoy the plus money and bet on DeRitter. But
Yeah.
I got to make a pick, so I'll rock with Bo Nickel.
Woo! All right. Wit, what about you, my man?
Bo Nickel, give me one more chance.
Cross already knows.
Okay, yeah. So, like I always do, guys, we got to look at the numbers up here on Tapology. Going down as I check out RDR and shout out to Rob J Spec, our guy. You know what I'm saying? We're definitely going to get into the space this weekend and have a chat, bro. It's kind of tough, dog. Like when you look at this right here, this big number, 14 wins, 1-4, not 1 and 4, but 14 wins by submission. Like you said, 2 division, 1 champion, only 3 wins by knockout. So he is kind of going. I feel the snare. It's like you got to know that the snare is somewhere around. Like y'all saw the Predator movies. You know what I'm talking about? Where you're going to step on something and it's going to slice you in half with a laser. This is one of those moments for Bo Nickel. The trap is being set. He's going to make you think that you're in dominant position. You're going to get in the guard, and there goes your elbow. I don't want to tap, but I got to tap. My elbow's going the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? Here goes my heel. My heel's going in the opposite direction. It's a heel hook. I thought I was winning the fight. This is what RDR does to everybody. I want to go Bo Nickel. I want to, but this could be the fight which makes him up the ante even more. Everybody, the best fighters have one of those fights where they take a loss and then they learn from it. So this may make Bo Nickel get into a jiu-jitsu camp. This may make Bo Nickel, take a Brazilian trip and go down there for 2-3 months. You know what I mean? And really get or take a trip into a tough Brazilian jiu-jitsu camp so we can learn and be prepared. But right now, for me, I'm going RDR, dog. It looks once again, the UFC from time to time, the matchmakers make you feel good, but this is a trap. They got I'm telling you, Bo Nickel's going to go, oh, I got him now. And next thing you know, your wrist is being turned the wrong direction. So I'm going RDR on this one.
They definitely took him off the UFC slow build protection plan. Like this is a hard fight.
This is a hard turn. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is we're going to see where you're at. Where this is. Do you
want to? Don't get me wrong. I think don't get me wrong. I think he talked his way into some stuff like this because while he was dormant, Bo Nickel was a little bit of everywhere going, yeah, I want some more fights. I want tougher fights. I'll fight 10 guys and blah, blah, blah. I saw some Bo Nickel interviews while he wasn't fighting where he was, and understandably, his wrestling career is beyond the measure of a lot of guys' MMA career. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. But professional MMA fighter, 1 champion, 2 Division 1 champion. Once again, if y'all look at the numbers on Tapology, which the majority of the time they're pretty accurate, submitting 14 guys is something serious in my opinion. And then of course, you know how I like to do when we look at the numbers, we got 900 as of right now, 944 people are going. 56% of those people are going for the Ritter by submission. The rest of them are just pretty much sliding it in as a decision. But you know, it's a pretty tough.
That means more people are thinking like you. More people are the odds are the fight fan. I feel like the fight fans feel like it's you're only as good as your last fight out, right? And I don't think Bo looked that great against Paul Craig.
No,
his last time out. So I'm actually Bo Nichols said he never lost. You know, Bo Nichols, All-American wrestler in wrestling, is in Iowa. He's obviously a Penn State alum, and he said he's never lost a fight in Iowa, like a match. Well, guess what? On Saturday night, you're losing. Give me RDR, baby. Yeah, Penn State sucks. I'm riding with RDR, baby. You know, we're not. Real quick on the Jeremy Stevens thing, Bobby, you mentioned it. This is his one fight. He signed a one-fight contract to fight in his home state. I don't know if the UFC's ever really done that. You know what I mean? So kudos to him. He said he's also fighting on a 12-12. What the fuck?
We may get the gloves down, is what you're trying to say? Since he's
no, he wants to go back to BKFC, I think.
Oh, yeah, no, that would make the most sense. I figured as much when he said, you know, you don't want to go back and, you know, get locked up. He wants to have the flexibility to go back, and it's perfect for them. And yeah, I don't know. You smashed the gavel there. I was about to switch to RDR, but the gavel's been smashed, so it looks like I'm stuck with Bo Nickel there. But you know, maybe Cross might be on to me. He thinks I don't want to be tapping my Tapology picks, so who knows?
Half the time I forget what. Half the time, well, I forget. By the time I make my Tapology picks, I usually forget what the fuck I said on the show. Like especially like when we do like pay-per-views, the undercards and things like that. Sometimes I forget. I don't even know what I picked on the show. Then I make a Tapology pick, and then by Saturday I forget what the fuck I picked on Tapology. And usually the show, unless it's like the main co-main, I kind of remember that. But anything other than that, I've done forgotten, like from Wednesday all the way to Saturday.
Y'all know we should make a Head Kicks and Haymakers Tapology group, and then everybody who watches can put in their picks too.
Yeah, we got one in the
Discord, right? Yeah. Shout out to everybody in the Discord. I gotta get back in there and talk some more trash.
We got the main event before we get into the boxing is Corey Sandhagen, huge favorite here. Minus 550 over Davison Figueiredo. We haven't seen the Sandman in a little while. The last time out was August 2024 when he lost to Umar. And really, Corey has a right to say, I know he's coming off a loss, but shit, he almost has a right to say he should fight for the title more than O'Malley. But if he gets this dub done, he's right back there. With your thoughts here on the main event of UFC Des Moines.
Oh man, you know let's what is it? We might as well go ahead and cue it up, man. Cue and Enter the Sandman as we get ready to watch Corey Sandhagen go into it. You know it. You got
my hand. We're up to never land.
James Hetfield is God. That's what someone told me. Anyway, so this is how it goes, man. Lemmy's God. Oh, so we got Corey Sandhagen here, man. Like I'm really a fan of his work. A lot of the last couple of fights we were talking about. I was into Botkins, and I just was going into. I remember talking about the Rob Font joint. Watching him lose to Umar Nurmagomedov was a thing, but I mean, even though it was unanimous decision, I think that was his reach right there. That was his one chance to go, I can have it all in just one failed swing. And Umar took advantage of it. And that was kind of in 2023, 24, right around that time.
Yeah, right, for it.
That was right around that time where I think the peak of the powers of you know, everybody in that camp was really at their toughest. And so it was a really you know, I'm not gonna say a disadvantage for him, but it was a really tough one to see him lose that one. But ever since, everything else before gives me reason to say tough competition like Figueroa is not necessarily something that he can't do. This is a fight that he can win. This is a fight that I like you said in my mind. If he takes Davison Figueroa, who definitely has been at the top of the division before, has been right there where everyone else wants to be, and right now is ranked 5. If he takes on this and beats him, right, what else can we say about him? He's got to go right to the top. And we got to go ahead and see what happens after O'Malley possibly takes another big L. But before we get too way ahead of ourselves, we're going to go ahead and just say, let's just check out the numbers before I make my guess. Right now, Tapology's got it. 2,168 people are going 80% Sandhagen by decision. And in real life, man, I'm pretty much right there. I'm all Sandman on this one. It's really a fight where the styles I think will cancel each other out, and we'll see a lot of striking. And then we get into the scary round where somebody's going to try to do a little bit of the grappling. And Corey Sandhagen, although haven't been taken advantage of before, this ground game is extremely good. And this is where I think he may prevail, especially on the points. So let's see what happens. I'm going Sandhagen on this one. I'm going to ride the wave. We're going to be playing more Metallica when it's over.
Yeah, I mean Sandhagen's Bobby Sandhagen owns the height advantage, 5'11" to 5'5", like 5'5". So we're talking almost 6 inches here. On
I had a joke, but I'm gonna keep myself.
The reach is only 2 inches though, so there's that. So your thoughts here on the Sandman versus Figgy?
Yeah, I mean, simply put, Sandhagen is just so much bigger than Figgy, and on account of that, I think it's a really bad matchup for Figgy. I expect Sandhagen to have a lot of success and probably get an early finish, maybe second round. It would not shock me at all if he's able to time some type of a flying knee because of the size difference. And I think Corey is pretty slighted that O'Malley got this title shot in the first place. And he is going to show the UFC exactly why he should have got that title shot. So I think it's going to be Sandhagen by whatever he wants.
Wow. So you think it's a landslide?
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know if he finished. Figgy's so hard to finish. He's been in there with some of the best.
Yeah,
a lot of it at flyweight. But I mean, even at bantamweight, he's coming off his first loss at bantamweight where he lost a unanimous decision to Peter Yan. But before that, had beaten Cheeto, Garbrandt, and Rob Font.
That's kind of my point. He's no Cheeto Vera. Like, he is going to engage, not download.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, you mean Corey is? Corey's going to engage. Yeah. Rob's right here. Is Corey is that guy? Is Joseph Benavidez all over again? Like the guy that's just like right there, just losing to the top tier, like he, every time, like lost to Aljo, like he loses to the guy that's either about to fight for the title or the champ, or you know what I mean. It seems like he's always right there, and if you beat him, you're probably gonna go fight for the title and win the title, or fight for the title, and then you know what I mean. But if he beats you, then it's back down. That's how good Corey Sandhagen is. He's always like one beat, right? Like he can't ever just get over the hump. I still would I would have loved to seen him and O'Malley. Like that's probably like my dream fight, the bantamweight, and that's the fight that they should have been made, and like for the number one contender instead. But nonetheless, here we are. He's taking on Figgy, and I'm right there with everybody. Tapology, you win. I think Corey. Cue the music. Light, and tonight, take my hand, What the never
Okay.
before we get to Saturday night, we are the appetizer of the day. It might be live in downtown New York City.
Right.
I mean, I didn't realize how good this. I was looking at the card. Holy shit! This card is pretty stacked with in the headlined by Mr. Garcia, who I think it seems done a 180 since the Haney fight. Just complete 180. It's like we're talking to a different person. He seems
man.
like his head together. Maybe not. Seems like he's on the drugs.
You see the presser? He's still there.
He's still
there.
I didn't see the presser today. In his interview, I've only seen the interviews.
He's still there.
He was dancing around. He was
still the fight. Maybe it's something about the pressure, the weight cut. I don't know. But I've seen him in interviews. He seemed like he's better. But you're telling me he's not, Bobby.
No. He is better. I'm just making a joke because I also did see the old Ryan at the presser too. Kind of. Go ahead with it. Sorry.
Yeah, man. No. This is I think this is a spectacle. Shout out to the Zone and all the people involved in this one right here. You know how it is.
Where's you at? Downtown Manhattan, outside, right?
In Times Square. They put a ring in the middle of Times Square. There will be cars and cabs, people driving Ubers, strangers, Hispanic people, Asians selling candy. There will be all kinds of stuff going on during this match right here. But guess what? Times Square will stand still as Rolly Romero takes on Ryan Garcia. Now, let's not get it twisted. We got to do it the right way. Hold on one second.
And now, boxing this weekend.
I didn't get a chance to do that last week, even though that fight was but the point is, for me, the powers that be are starting to use their effing brains. Okay? This is definitely where somehow, some way, people are going, we can make boxing great again. We can make boxing interesting. How do we do it? Let's take a risk. Let's do something. I don't know how you get a permit to put a ring in the middle of Times Square, but they do.
We know how. Hey, yeah, it's money. Hey, you know who's
money.
And got all the money. Yeah.
And listen, and somehow, some way, they're going to sell seating. There's a seating for this. There will be, the old MTV studios that is no longer occupied by MTV is being set up as a watch area for this, if I'm not mistaken. Those seats will probably be worth thousands of dollars, okay? Even though it's not right there next to the ring, being in the old MTV studio, they're probably going to hook that thing up and have it like so hype with drinks and all kinds of stuff for the Zone. So big shouts out to the people that put this together. Now on to the fight. We have to recognize two things. One, Rolly Romero is not playing around when it comes to any of these boxing matches. He automatically has a strong disdain for Ryan Garcia. Rolly Romero felt like the payday that was going to come with fighting Devin Haney was supposed to be his necessarily, especially due to the idea of what could have
invite only. It's invite only. That's the reason.
Yeah, it's invite only. Okay, so then the thing that they have in MTV in the old MTV studios is probably part of that as well. The whole thing is, somehow, some way, Romero felt disrespected when Devin Haney did not give it to him, and it was pretty much a Garcia fight. But then to see Garcia beat Devin Haney, Rolly Romero felt like that should have been me. That should have been my money, and I was clean. I would have beat him, and nobody would have had nothing to say. So this is his opportunity to prove that he is the better, more skilled fighter. I personally am right in the area in which, to me, this is where the rubber meets the road for Ryan Garcia. He beat Devin Haney handedly, but of course, the speculation or the truth about whatever supplement he was accidentally given by his trainer, which we may or may not attribute to his performance. This is going to be the one where, hey, look, ain't none of that going to count. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat you fair and square. I'm going to beat you clean. And these same punches that you see me throw extremely fast on TikTok and Instagram are going to be the same ones that you feeling across your face. I think Romero has a strong chance about this because Romero's chin has been tested in the past, but Garcia has ungodly hand speed, and we saw it on display that last time against Devin Haney.
let me ask you this real quick. Why is Garcia and Romero headlining this card and not Lopez versus Barbosa Jr., who's the super lightweight is on the line, or even like Devin Haney's got some, you know what I mean, got some name versus Jose Ramirez. Why are they choosing Ryan Garcia, Raleigh Romero? Why are they the ones that headline this card? Or Bobby, if you know, please chime in.
Yeah, I was about to say, to be honest with you, even though Teofimo is holding the championship belt in this fight against Arnold Barboza, the names in this factor of them having to put it in Times Square, Rolly Romero versus Ryan Garcia the week of Cinco de Mayo is kind of a bigger deal because this is Latin America. You know what I'm saying? Like in the week to come, next Saturday on Cinco de Mayo, we will be aware of Canelo versus Scully, which is, of course, Canelo's warm up before he fights against Terrence Crawford. So this is basically because these are two Latin American fighters instead of one Latin American fighter. It's not saying Teofimo and Arnold Barboza are not representatives of Latin America, but the two names themselves and already having the previous disdain for one another is why they are headlining it rather than Teofimo. And I like Teofimo Lopez, but Teofimo Lopez has not been his promoter has not been getting him the fights to put him in that top rank where he needs to be as a welterweight, and that's just being real. Teofimo. Yeah, Teofimo's been losing out on a lot of opportunities to get his weight up and fight some guys right now. And Cross says it's for the title, but it's the names is what I'm saying, Cross. The two names of people who've already been crossing each other, who don't like each other. When Romero had the whole idea of him being put in that fight against Devin Haney instead of Ryan Garcia, that was being fed right there ringside. If y'all remember,
according to DAZN, I'm on DAZN's website, DAZN.com. They don't have that title. They don't say it's for the title. They just say it's just a guy welterweight.
Oh, okay. It's not
the only title is the super lightweight for the WBO title, Lopez and Barbosa Jr.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, to me, Garcia is by far the biggest name on the card, period. Mm-hmm. I mean, say what you will about, the Osterine and stuff, but he still beat Devin Haney down, and people have been waiting to see him fight for the last year. So I think it was a no-brainer to have him headline there. I'm glad we got the backstory with it because you got me a little bit more excited for the other two fights because each time I look at this, I ask, why are we just not doing Garcia Haney, the rematch, with this setting? But I like the backstories in both the other matchups. But I think, Turkey's playing with fire. Granted, he'll probably throw the money at Haney and Garcia anyway, even if one of them loses. But, I could definitely see why they got him headlining off the first fight coming back as suspension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely. It's the name. It's the way he beat Devin Haney. It's the idea that the boxing world. I'm not saying has turned their backs on Devin Haney, but to have his father and him constantly on social media, like going irate about suing Garcia and getting him arrested, like all of that stuff made him look bad. And in my opinion, it made Devin Haney look bad. So he dropped down a little bit in the status of how high he was at that point. Like, let's fight Canelo. All of that's gone out the window. Devin Haney has got to regain some foothold in the boxing world, especially since the expansion of Turkey Al Sheikh has really the world.
Do you guys think that to me that on Saturday, the most, maybe out of all the fight, including the MMA, Devin Haney might have the most pressure of any fighter, right? He's got to go out there and really showcase his skills and get the dub, right?
100%. You're 100% correct, bro. Because if Devin Haney goes out here and gets washed, because the whole point was Devin Haney as a man is a larger person. He left a smaller weight class where he was cutting a lot of weight. He was technically, damn near killing himself to make them weight cuts. Understandably, it's really hard to be a boxer and try to be a smaller boxer when your frame is that big. But now, especially in this case, he does not have to do all of that. Ryan Garcia beat him with the Osterine. Did it have too much of an effect on it? We don't know. But this right here is an opportunity to say, yeah, man, it's not what you think it is. This is really how I fight all the time. I really am that good, which he was. So I'm 100% behind you. Like the pressure is really on Devin Haney to perform, at a high level. And when I say high, I'm talking about he's got to be unanimous decision, damn near, for it to mean anything. And I'm not taking no smoke off of, the competition right now, because it's not as if he's in there fighting Joe Blow to love a man, straight off the street. This is a real fight for him. But in terms of where he was, Jose Romero or Ramirez is not on that level. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, I was just the time. I was looking at the time. I guess it's 5 p.m. Eastern, so 4 o'clock Central Time. So, Bobby, that's out 2 p.m. your time.
Yeah, it's a midday. They wanted like a midday, busy Manhattan, scenery type joint. That's what they want instead of doing it at night.
I think I heard on Ariel Hawani's show that they got to be out of there, or maybe it's Pat's show or something. I was watching. They said they got to be out of there by a certain time too. Like,
So. Yeah, New York only gave them, I think, like 4.5 hours. So like by like 9, 10 o'clock, it's got to be. They got to be. The fights have to be over because the flow of traffic in New York is already garbage. I like it. You know what I'm saying? The flow of traffic in New York is already garbage. Then you want to have a boxing match. People, there's gonna be cabs circling around. They ain't gonna have nobody in them. Ain't nobody gonna be doing no work. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna be messing up downtown Manhattan for a boxing match. You could have had it in Madison Square Garden for all of that, but it's all good. I think this is really them, the people, the powers that be, the zone, everybody else except for Turkey Al Sheikh going, hey, we need to do more exciting things and bring the eyeballs back to boxing.
Yeah, I like it. Who you win? Those three main fights there. Who do you like winning? And Bobby, go ahead and make your picks too.
All right, man. So let's start at the bottom. We're going Teofimo Lopez, Barboza. Barboza is definitely a more of a puncher. He's definitely got more of the wins under his belt, in which I would go with for this fight. But I think Teofimo and the skill set is really about the skill set in this one. In a lot of these fights, Teofimo I think is going to win. I'm not going to say like handedly or pretty much. I'm pretty much going to say by decision, and I think that's being honest about it. When I look at the next one, I'm going Jose Romero, Devin Haney. This is the one where the coin flip is going to happen. Oh yeah, and then of course Tapology's got 86% going Teofimo on that one. Devin Haney and Jose Ramirez. I think in reality, the last 4 fights, except for the one that's been nullified, is where we got to go. Hey, look, Devin Haney means business, so I'm going to go Haney on this one. This is the one he has to win. Ramirez lost his last fight. This should be a walk. And really, Ryan Garcia, Rolly Romero could smoke Garcia. He could, but what we saw from him against top tier competition was uncanny. I'm thinking Devin Haney by knockout. Romero doesn't make it to the 8th round.
Woo.
Smoking.
You got any thoughts here? You want to make any picks real quick?
Yeah, I'd say probably, Haney puts up a good enough fight to win. And as far as Garcia goes, I do think he will have a lot of success, looking a lot more motivated and stuff. I got a little bit of a question of the scale. Will he be able to make weight? But considering how different he is compared to, saying wild shit and having Twitter fingers, I think he'll make the weight. And, all that.
More dialed in.
Yeah, yeah. And I would expect him to get a finish. Maybe in the later rounds, being able to get the TKO. But at the same time, I would expect him to still win pretty handily, even though they do have history with each other. But I think a motivated Ryan Garcia is dangerous because look at the fucked up Ryan Garcia that you could say he intentionally didn't make weight and stuff, but he was kind of fucking around with that fight, and he still went in with the best game plan to neutralize Devin Haney. So interested to see like what the year off does to him, if that affects him, coming out of the gate slow. But I think for him, it'll be riding like a bike. He's been boxing since he was like 12, so
I know
should
it's
be
a
a
year off,
pretty
but
good one.
I feel like in boxing that's not that big a deal because I feel like in boxing you only really fight maybe one time a year anyway.
Yeah. Once or twice.
You know what I mean? Twice if it's a good year, once for sure. You know what I mean? So I feel like the year off isn't that. It's not like he has. You know what I mean? It's not like a year of like you can't even enter the fucking gym. So that I think it's a little different. But all right, well, great. Saturday's gonna be a good sit down, watch all the fights for show. Be a friend, tell a friend, folks.
Oh wait, no, wait. Last thing, gotta say it. Did y'all say it? Did you say it already, Bobby?
What?
No, the floor is yours.
Conor Ben, Chris Eubanks Jr. last weekend was a fight of the year candidate. It was immaculate. It was crazy. It was ridiculous. It was a storyline behind it. Chris Eubanks Jr. went up there and slapped Conor Ben with an egg. His father, a knighted man in Europe, went on national, which is European TV, and said, "You're a disgrace. I will never be in my son's corner." Blah, blah, blah. And then come to find out, the Rolls Royce pulls up, the door opens, and it's royalty. It's Eubanks Sr. in a furry jacket with his son. It was a storyline. I would think like a lot of people in European boxing, like for how we think about Mike Tyson and like Holyfield, that is who that is for European boxing. You know what I'm saying? That person right there. And to see him get out of that car with his son, go up against his rivals, Nigel Ben's son, I think that was a really extremely big deal. If you did get a chance to watch it, please go back and look at it. It is a fight of the year candidate. Yes,
you run it back. I think they're gonna run it back.
In real life,
$25 I ever spent.
In real life, they should. That should be seen one more time. When the fight was happening, it was very much standoffish. Everybody was feeling each other out. But I don't know if Bobby saw it, but I saw it. They had Chris Eubanks Sr. and Nigel Ben sitting next to each other. The dad, they kept showing them. They weren't talking at all. I don't think they really even made eye contact. By the fifth round, both fathers weren't sitting next to each other. They were in the corners. They were talking, and then from the fifth round to the 12th, there were two men toe to toe, not backing away from each other. I'm talking about they had like head clashes and everything because they were boxing for their fathers. You know what I'm saying? I can only imagine how it feels to say, my dad beat your dad when and now I want some payback because Nigel Ben and Chris Eubanks was real deep in the European boxing scene, for the Rastafari scene. If you know anything about Jamaican boxers, that was a big deal. So for me, one of the things I mentioned on yesterday, it's an honor to be a dad. You know what I'm saying? Boxers, you got kids. You said you're going to go watch a soccer match tomorrow. I can't imagine seeing my son do the thing I did and then be great at it. You know what I'm saying? So it's a huge ordeal for me to watch it. I almost shed a tear talking about it yesterday. I pretty much almost shed a tear when I watched, his dad go up there and hug the fighter. You know what I'm saying? Hug the dad. At the end, everybody got together and said, "This is how you make boxing great." So for me, I gotta say it. I really, if this was not fight of the year, then the only other thing you can compare it to was Artur Beterbiev and Bivol. Probably Bivol and Beterbiev won, maybe not two, but maybe one would be the competitor for fight of the year. And then as I talk about everything else going on when it comes to fathers and sons and things of that nature, I will be taking a small hiatus as my wife is getting ready to have my third child. It's going crazy. We're getting closer to that time where she's having a baby in like a month. I'm going to be, I got to be just a little bit more attentive. So I'm going to probably pop in and out from time to time. I'll definitely let you guys know. But I'm not missing like Fight Week, International Fight Week, and nothing crazy like that. It's just that the time leading up into having a baby, my wife is high risk. She needs me to pay a little more attention. I got to cook more food, all kinds of good stuff. But in the end, thanks, Cross. In the end, it's really about what we saw this weekend. I'm going to start off on the right foot. I'm going to be there for my wife. I'm going to be there for my new son. And I'm going to come back and be here for you guys because I love doing this. This is exactly what I want to do. So If you don't have children, congratulations. Don't start unless you really want to. But when you do, and if you do, go hug them because they could do something great, like be drafted into the NFL or be picked up after the draft because that was a big thing too. You know, everybody talked about Shador. Who cares when Shador got drafted? Deion Sanders got 2 kids into the league. 2. I don't care when they got drafted. They there. And then second of all, of course, you know, this happened. Connor Ben, Nigel Ben, Chris Eubanks Jr., Chris Eubanks Sr., all in the ring at the same time. It makes me feel sensitive because I want my kids to be great too. Y'all should too. If you got kids, go kiss them and hug them. Tell them Uncle Whit said what's up. And that's it for today. Head kicks and haymakers. I love you guys. Bodkins, Bobby, y'all my boys for life. That's what we do.
Amen, brother. On that note, folks, this has been another great episode of Head Kicks and Haymakers. We'll be back 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern next Wednesday. Talk about all the fights. We got one more week until the pay-per-view or the next week. I don't know.
I'll be back for the pay-per-view for sure.
It's coming. I can't wait.
Is it next week or the week after?
I don't got a calendar in front of me. I think we're 2 weeks out.
It's after Cinco de Mayo.
Oh, look. I think next week, May 10th is, it's next Saturday. So next Saturday, we'll look at Muhammad versus, Bobby's guy, Bilal Muhammad versus
Bilal Muhammad. Did y'all see what he said about him? He said he'll take he'll move up and wait if whatchamacallit wins. Did y'all see that?
Oh, don't get me started. Bring your haterade on Wednesday, Bodkins.
UFC 315. We'll be back next week. Talk about that. Plus, we got Paul Hughes fighting in the PFL. So we might make a call to Mr. Don Davis. So
shout out to Phil. Whatchamacallit? Phil. Dang, it's just now it's escaping me because he's fighting this weekend for tomorrow for PFL.
Paul Hughes next weekend, ain't it?
I think
no. There's a PFL on tomorrow, the heavyweights, and
yeah.
You know, we got to get these PFL names right. Show them some respect. But it's Phil Davis. Yeah, Phil Davis, Rob Wilkinson tomorrow for the PFL World Tournament. I'm going to probably check that out. It comes on like 7:30 on ESPN.
So, all right, we'll be back next week, 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern, for another episode of Head Kicks and Haymakers. Everybody have a great weekend. Catch all the fights. It's going to be an exciting weekend of fights. So be a friend, tell a friend, like, subscribe, share if you haven't, please. And other than that, we'll see you next time. See y'all.
Kiss the kids.
I love it. You guys are so great.
Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, let's talk sport, friends. Thanks for watching.